My name's Tim Neal, and I've been a fan for about 45 years now. I would definitely have to say that my Doctor is Tom Baker. He's not my first Doctor. I remember some episodes with John Pertwee. There was something about Tom Baker, and what I admired about him was that he was fearless. He would just wander into a room and suddenly assume control over all these figures of authority or whatever. He just totally didn't care. What I really like about the show is there is a variety. So if I fancy something quite adult, quite gritty, I might go for John Pertwee's The Mind of Evil. Or if I just fancy something that's a great deal of fun, then I might pick Tom Baker's The City of Death. There are some episodes in the new series since it came back which are fantastic emotional episodes, and basically if I want a good cry I might put on the story where Rose departs, or where Donna Noble has to kind of go back to her ordinary life, because they're brilliant dramas. It's always had a core fan base who've stuck with it through thick and thin, but there have certainly been eras when it didn't have the kind of popular vote that it has currently. If I've managed to carve out any kind of niche for myself amongst the rest of the fans, it's through my interest in the Target novelisations. These were books which were mainly published in the 70s and 80s. As a fan in the 70s and 80s, if you wanted to relive the experience of Doctor Who, then this was your only avenue, really. As time went on, I discovered that not only were these available in the UK, but they'd become a little bit of a global phenomenon as well, and there were translations into, Portuguese, French. I've managed to kind of track down all these foreign editions of the books as well. My collection of books, numbers in the thousands, it must be the thousands. The reason we refer to them as the Target novelisations is because the imprint was called Target, and so each of the books has a Target logo on the spine. I can remember quite clearly we went down to our local post office and they had one of these kind of paperback display units. I can see Doctor Who and the Demons. Which was a John Pertwee story. I saw this book, and I was kind of pointing at it and tugging it in my mother's arm, saying, please, can I have that Doctor Who book? Because I was already watching the show and enjoying the show at that point. Going into a second-hand bookshop in Whitby and discovering an original 1960s hardback edition of The Crusaders, you knew that only you had found that, and there was a kind of a gleeful moment when you would discover this thing tucked away in a back corner. And then, of course, eBay came along, and every fan was scouring eBay, and it became a lot more financially competitive all of a sudden. One of my fiercest kind of eBay bidding wars was with a fellow fan called Colin Young, where we were both after the Brazilian copy of The Day of the Daleks. And the money was escalating to such a silly point that I actually got in touch with Colin and stood aside and said, it's yours, Col, you take it. About 10 years ago, when the internet was taking off, and again I'm a bit of a late adopter when it comes to technology, but I thought I want to carve out a little niche for myself, and so I created a website dedicated to the Target novelisations. Although I suspect my name as a fan isn't particularly well known, I think the On Target website is about as well known as I will ever get, and the BBC are courteous to refer to the website in their releases of the audiobooks. On the back of the website that I created, I was contacted by David Howe to see if I would collaborate with him on a book on the history of the Target novelisations. And we produced a book called The Target Book, which I know was very well received by other fans. It's almost a little bit like an addiction. We all think we control it slightly better than the fan sitting next to us, but it must be interesting sometimes to sit outside of it and look at me compared to some of the other fans and kind of think they're all the same, really, aren't they? It's certainly something that I can't see myself weaning myself off this addiction. It's here for the rest of my life now.